He taught me everything from creation through Revelation, through the rapture,
Wow.
and into the new heavens and the new earth. Man, he created man in his image. Now, I actually saw before the fall, the dinosaurs and them where they weren't mean. I watched Adam pet the nose of a dinosaur.
Robert Marshall was dead for 3 days when he had an encounter with Christ in heaven and saw some details that are unlike almost anything you've ever heard before. This is one of the most fascinating NDE testimonies I have ever heard. Robert, thank you for joining the show.
My pleasure, my honor.
So tell everyone, how did you die?
Very quickly.
Ha!
Well, on May 19th, 2024, I was in the hospital. Been admitted on the 17th because of a very large mass on my neck that they diagnosed as an extremely aggressive form of cancer. And I was having trouble breathing, following, literally couldn't swallow. So I went to the emergency room downtown Fort Worth, and in the emergency room, like my oxygen level was like at 84, 85 at that point. I couldn't swallow water. I couldn't breathe. They took me into the back, put me to sleep, and put an oral intubation tube down my throat so that I could get oxygen. They admitted me to the ICU, the intensive care unit, immediately. And of course, I laid there until the 23rd of May with the tube in. I was breathing. When you don't get oxygen, you get oxygen. You're pretty happy camper. And I was doing pretty well, except for the big mass of cancer. And the doctor came in on the 19th of May with my wife and looked at all the charts and the machines and everything that was going on and says, he seems to be doing pretty good. He's breathing. He's got a lot of oxygen. There's nothing other than not being able to get oxygen because of that mass on my neck. But they had the tube down. I was getting pretty good oxygen. And they decided that she said, let's see how he does without the intubation tube, see if he can breathe on his own. And she asked my wife to leave the room, and they extubated the tube. And then, of course, my wife came back in, and I was in there. The doctor stayed in there for about, 30, I think medical records say 30, 35 minutes, somewhere right in that vicinity, and was watching. And, I was doing good, breathing, everything. I was happy. I was joking with my wife, poking her, and, I'm going to get out of this room. You've been in an ICU room, all you hear is beep, 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 and everything, all of them down the hall. And I didn't like hospitals to start with, but I was feeling really good because I was getting oxygen. Well, my wife and the doctor went out to the nurse's station or out there outside the room down the hall a little bit. And they left me in the room after about 35 to 40 minutes. They decided I'll be fine. Well, about 35 minutes. And they went out there and they were talking, and they were gone about 35 to 40 minutes is what the medical records say. Sometime in between that 35 to 40 minutes, that mass rolled over my airway and I suffocated to death, flatline, zero oxygen, zero heartbeat. How long that was, they don't know exactly when that happened because nobody was in there with me. Wasn't on any machines at that point, so they had no way of knowing. They were concerned I was going to be able to get out of that room. And my wife came back in the room about 35, 40 minutes later, and she discovered me. Blue, flatline, dead, not breathing, no signs of life whatsoever. She just panicked. She ran out and hollered out, he's blue, come quick, come quick. And the doctor, of course, ran in, saw me, said, something's wrong here. And she confirmed that, I was dead. The nurse hit the code blue button. Everybody in the world came out. There's probably 20, 25 people, and they were crawling underneath the table, on top of the table, on top of me. They had a large male nurse that was doing compressions on me, trying to get my heart going. And they were trying to get the intubation tube back down my throat so I could get oxygen. At this point now, I've got zero oxygen, or about no heartbeat, no oxygen, nothing. And they couldn't get the intubation tube back down because that mass was blocking it, and they kept nicking and nicking. And I ended up bleeding out in my lungs as well. But it was about 15 minutes before they even got my heart to get a beat. And then it was just for a matter of time, a moment. But when I was without oxygen for total about 90 hour and a half, 90 minutes with zero oxygen, no heartbeat, nothing, except for in your interim periods. They got my heart going for about 20 or 30 seconds and then flatlined again. And then they got it going again for about 20, 30 seconds and flatlined again. But the first time that I died, I left my body. It was 15 minutes before they could even get that first beat of a heart going. Well, in the meantime, of course, my brain was being destroyed. Everything in my body was being destroyed because no oxygen. But when I died, I was hovering above the ICU room. And I was looking down at everything, and I'm like, this isn't good. But you see yourself there, and you're up here. You're trying to figure everything out at this point. It's an experience. Yeah, it was quite a thing. I'm looking down, and I'm going, wow. And I'm watching the guy doing the CPR, breaking my ribs, and
Was your body rigid?
well, I was as blue as probably the suit is.
Wow.
I mean, it was that long because I had zero oxygen.
Yeah.
And of course, there was no movement on my part except for where he kept doing the compressions. So I'm bouncing up and down, and they're trying to move stuff around. I mean,
So what did you see? So you were outside your body and you said to yourself, wow, that was me. And then what happened after that?
well, I was hovering, and I'm looking down in here, and I'm going like, okay, this is not. And then I kind of hovered out to the hallway through a wall. And you're not bound by anything at that point. And I looked down, and I looked at my wife, and my wife was outside the room, just doubled over, just crying. I mean, literally the floor in front of her. I'd never seen her cry like that. It was like a puddle of tears. Literally, the floor was. If you took a glass of water and poured it, that's about what it looked like from the tears going through.
Wow.
And it was breaking my heart. I kind of hovered. I remember telling her, I was saying, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, sweetie. Of course, she couldn't hear me. I wasn't saying anything. She didn't know I was there. All she knew was her husband was in there. They were beating on him, throwing everything they could to try and bring him back alive. She just knew her husband was in there dead. That's all she knew. And she was just dealing with a lot. She went through a lot more than I did.
Yeah.
I mean, she really did.
Same. That was the same for all my family and friends.
Yeah.
They have all these experiences, and I was outside of it the entire time.
I tell her I'm gallivanting around heaven. You're down here feeling bad. But I floated back in the ICU, and of course, this is all just a matter of 30, 40, 50 seconds, maybe a minute. I mean, it's not like I was lingering. And I saw them, and then that fast, I was standing in heaven. I didn't go through lights. I didn't I wasn't met by a band of angels or anything else. I was just immediately
There.
standing there, and I'm standing there looking. And I was outside what I call the inner courtyard, and it was unbelievable. And I remember the feeling I had of just absolute total peace, total love. It was like I never, ever, ever had that feeling ever in my life. It was just amazing. And I'm looking around, and I'm looking at the trees and flowers and the inner courtyard, and I looked over there. I call it the inner courtyard, and there was a man over there I recognized, and it looked like my dad, but it didn't look like my dad when he died. See, my dad died when he was 92, and he died of throat cancer. Ironic, right? I didn't die of throat cancer. I suffocated to death. But he did die from the cancer, and it ate him up. Cancer is a cruel, cruel disease. And he just shriveled away to nothing. I remember that. And yet when I'm looking at him, he looked to be about 35, 38 years old, in prime health. Like I remembered him from my youth. I'm going, wow, I know that's my dad. Then I'm looking over here I'm trying to take everything. And I looked at the trees, and I kept looking and looking and looking and looking and looking up at the trees. And I'm going like they were just magnificent, towering. Now, I tell people we have 43 oak trees in our backyard, and and they're pretty good size. I mean, they're towering. But compared to the trees in heaven, it was like, that's my looking at my
Nothing.
trees. In heaven, I'm looking up at them. And the trees in our backyard, compared to heaven, are like little tiny dying twigs. The trees in heaven are just so towering, and the leaves are so green, and they're different green so bright. It's like they just pop, and greens that you don't even have here, colors we don't even have here. And it's just unbelievable. And I'm looking at the flowers over here, and I'm like, wow. I saw flowers that I had never seen before, but there's a lot of flowers on earth I've not seen as well. But these, I've never seen anything like them. And the feeling of love and peace, it was like a huge
It hit
hug.
you. Yeah.
It permeates you. And I found out later why that is too. Let me get the flowers here real quick. The flowers, like you were talking about, You've never seen anything like it. The colors, we don't even have these colors here. And it's like not three-dimensional, not cinemascope. It's like quadricazigascope. I mean, it's like just to surround you is just like, you don't know where to look. It's just unbelievable. And they're just alive and you're connected to them. And the peace and the love that I felt, I noticed that there's no sun, but it's light. Now in heaven, there's no day, no night, and there's also no sun up in the sky. And I learned that the light, we always say that Jesus is the light, but that's literal. He lights all of heaven, all of it, with his light. And in his light carries his love and his peace. He is love. And what I also learned, including from creation, is he didn't create the earth just because. He didn't need us. He didn't need anything.
He wanted us.
It wasn't that. It was he was in perfect harmony with the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They were love, but love grows. Love has to give. And as he explained to me at creation, he says, I created everything came out of love. My love just overflowed and
Yes.
it gave. And that's where everything came from. All creation is love. And his love is so strong and it permeates your body. His light contains the love, it contains the peace, and it just permeates you, everything in you and everything and everybody with it. And that was
Yeah.
the most incredible. It's like a hug. You don't, you don't worry about or stress about anything. It's just the most incredible feeling. I got the in heaven, you get to feel him. You don't get to hear about him. You don't get to just see or wonder, but you actually live in his love. As when he abides in us and we abide in him, if we fully embrace him and allow him to just truly live his life through us as we should, you will feel that peace and that love. Because his love is so strong. But I'm looking at the flowers and the trees. I'm looking over at my dad, and there's no sun in the sky. I'm going, wow. I mean, I didn't know which to go wow at first. And then I heard this music in the background. Now it's like white noise. It's not loud like we're talking here. Doesn't interfere with you talking. It's not even like white noise. It's just like it's there. And it's just the most incredible music and choir I've ever heard in my life. I'm going, where is that coming from? And it's just like everywhere. Well, every tree, every plant, every rock, everything gives off what I call a little melodic tone or hum. And when they combine together,
Yes.
it's the music singing and praising Jesus continuously, nonstop. And it's the most, I do music that Jesus has given me, but there is nothing. If I could put what that music in heaven is here. They got instruments and notes and tones we don't even have. It's so far beyond what people can comprehend because you try to comprehend it with our senses. What we have here is it's just the most beautiful thing. And it's continuously. And it's every rock, every tree. Just like the Bible said, it continuously praising him all day. Well, not day, continuously, because there's no day and night, but it's continuously.
Man.
Then I'm sitting there going like, wow.
And Robert, as you continue sharing these things, I just really want people to understand. We just met real recently, just a couple weeks ago, but you hadn't even had known. Like in my testimony, my experience, I wrote the same exact things in my book, 18 Days in Heaven. I wrote down this same exact. I had an entire chapter where I wrote what you just said about. I testified how the mountains would sing to the rivers and the oceans and the waters, and
Yeah.
the
Okay.
water would sing back to the beach, and the waves, as they went back and forth, they would crash on the sand, and there would be a hymn that said, "Worthy is the Lamb, worthy is the Lamb, worthy is the Lamb." But it was unlike anything I've ever heard before. But it was all continuous, and I wrote that same exact thing. So I just want people to really understand, like me and you had such a similar experience, yet we've never talked about it before we shared it. It's just so fascinating. So keep going, keep going.
Well, and what you're saying there is, well, Jesus explained to me as well, I spent 3 days with him there. So everything I'm saying is not just a glimpse. He taught me everything from creation through Revelation, through the rapture, and into the new heavens and the new earth. And he did it by taking me outside of time and space. And he walked me through back to the very beginning when creation was going to do. That's why he explained to me how it happened. And he said, Robert, you see that dark? I said, that black? I said, yes. He says, that's not absent light. That's not absent anything. That's nothing. There's nothingness. I created everything from nothing by my love overflowing. And he said, I did it when I spoke a word. And the word is Christ, and Christ is love. That's what it came from. The word is love. And when he spoke it, to watch creation, Jesus told me what was happening, what was taking place, and explained it all to me. And he did that for everything from creation all the way through the new heavens and the earth and everything in between. And of course, there's no time in heaven. And he could give you a billion years and 2 minutes passed down here. I mean, you can't relate the two. It's hard to comprehend. But he literally showed me everything. Now, the trees that you were talking about, and the rivers and mountains singing each other. Jesus taught me that music and song is the purest form of worship and prayer that there is. And that's what the mountains and the trees and the oceans and the rivers that you were talking about, they're singing that praise, praying to Jesus in the purest form. And that's what we need to understand. He said, music will touch your heart. Entertainment songs will touch your ears. It's hard to comprehend, but you're right. The music is just unbelievable. And then I'm smelling the air. Now I'm really noticing this because I wasn't breathing down there. And I'm going like, oh, it's the most beautiful, fragrant ever smell. Now it's not perfumey. It's not sweet. It's just you can't even describe it. Just like you can't describe the feeling of love. The air was love. Only you're smelling the air. You're tasting the air. You're feeling the love. His love is everywhere. Now, the air in heaven, just like trees and flowers and rock, all gave off their own little melodic tone and they combined to make that music. Well, likewise, every plant, every rock, every tree, everything gives off their own little individual scent. And when combined, that is what makes up the air, the fragrance. If you could put that in a bottle, just to smell it, it's just like when the love is just going straight through you in a piece. And as you breathe in that love, that fragrance is also filled with his love. It just gets inside of you and you can't help it. I understand when he said his love was so strong that it just love gives, and it was his love overflowing that created everything, the word. And that's the best way to describe it, because when you breathe in the heavenly air and you feel the heavenly light penetrating your body and it fills you with that love and peace, it just flows outward. Here we might sweat. There it just permeates love and just connects you to everything and everybody. I could talk about heaven for the next 3 hours and I won't, but you just can't describe it. It's like the most incredible feeling. When you get there, you'll know. Well, but when they get there, they'll know exactly what I got to spend a little bit more time than you, though. But yeah, it does. Oh my gosh, Gabe, wait till you get you were there for a period of time, but wait until you get there and you can go and he gets to show everything to
Yeah.
you.
Well,
Unbelievable.
it really is interesting because I was there for 18 days on the earth, but for me, the time that I was with him was only a couple minutes, just in my experience. But for 18 days I was gone, but for him it felt like a couple minutes. It was so like I experienced how time just I wasn't limited by the earth's clock any longer. And so describe now, before we keep going with what Jesus showed you, tell everyone what he looked like.
Physical attributes, everybody asks that same question, but I got to explain it I got to preface it with this. Do you know what color blindness is? It's like if you look at my suit, all right, or my coat. If a person is colorblind, they'll look at it and they may learn it to be a dark blue the same way that I do, but they actually see it. It may appear what would appear red to me because their colors aren't the same as mine. So they see it a little differently. Keep that in mind. And then keep in mind this. We've all met people, men and women, probably have met people the same way. And you first meet them, you think, so beautiful. And then, because we're doing it from the structurally physical side, superficial here. And then as you get to know them, they suddenly aren't so beautiful. You're like, oh, and just the opposite too. because you see somebody and maybe they're not as attractive as you might think they are, but you get to know them and you go, when did you get so beautiful? That just kind of, that's because you're learning to look at the inner person itself, not just the physical outward. Now, we all have preconceived ideas of what Jesus is going to look like, and those are going to affect exactly how he appears to you, because he's going to appear to you as the perfect Jesus. Eyes. If we were all colorblind, only our individual senses will see it. Now, there are certain physical attributes that are the same. He's about 5'9", I would say, 5'8", 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", somewhere right in there. It's hard to comprehend because I was in so much looking around at everything else.
He about eye to eye with you, like he was right eye to eye, like face on, straight on with you.
Yes. But then that's also part of what it does, because when Jesus talks to you, when he looks at you, we have tendency to glance left or right when we're talking here. He looks at you. He looks straight at you. Now, he's not trying to stare you down. His eyes, and I'm going to start with those, are the most, you can't describe them because it's pure love that comes out.
Yeah.
Pure love and comfort and compassion. And when he looks at you, he doesn't look left. He doesn't look right. He looks straight at you as if you're the only person in the entire universe. You are the most important person, and his total undivided attention is directly at you. And it's pure love. He's going to make sure that you know that he's listening to everything that you're saying. And likewise, that he will direct everything to you. Now, he can do that to a million people at the same time because he's omnipresent. We don't have that ability, but that's what it is when you talk to him. It's like he's not going to look at anything else. He's talking to you. And you just feel so loved and so important because we are to him. He loves us that much. But he's God. He can do that. But the love you feel, his eyes just sparkle. Now he laughs, he smiles. He's got the cutest giggle you'll ever hear. People think he's this mean guy up here, and it's not. He's just got the giggle and he's got a sense of humor. He'll get you. He got me a couple of times. But when he does it in such a way, it's almost like a dry sense of humor. It takes you and you go, oh, okay. Because he's going to do that so you remember a very important that he's doing, and you don't forget it. But he is just a delight just to be in front of and looking at now. 5'8", 5'9", beautiful. Eyes that can only be described as pure love.
Wow.
I wouldn't say stealth. I don't know the right word. He's not bulky. He's not muscular. He's not slot. He's just perfect for his physique. His skin is kind of an olive color, an olive bronze, kind of like a Mideastern type. His nose is, it's not little tiny pointed. It's like it's just like a little slope and it's there. His smile just melts you. It just absolutely. But when he's talking to you, when he was teaching, he go from a laughing to, no, I want you to pay attention. And he'll get that look, not stern, not criticizing, but you know that he wants you to this is important, something's important. And he does it all with his facial features.
Mm.
His hair is dark, maybe a little light here. Yours is more straight and coned back. I guess you might have conditioner or gel or something, but his is dark. He wears it. Uh, it's not long. It's kind of like not a shadow.
Medium. Would you say
Yeah,
medium
right about
medium
here.
length?
Very
Yeah.
well kept. Short on the side and goes back down. Has a full beard, but it's very trimmed and must have. It's immaculate. Like you just got a haircut. I mean, it's only you.
You saw it. You saw the beard too. Thank you, because I tell people about his beard. I tell people, I say his facial structure it carried the depths of eternity. Like it was perfect. Like it was like he was both 33 yet eternal at the same time.
Yeah. He looked to be about 33 to 35, maybe 36. But he didn't look young and he didn't look old. He just
Right.
looked
Perfect.
perfect because everything is there. Because he literally is just, I'm a man,
So
but
would
he was absolutely beautiful.
wow. So would he take so I'm sure he took you to many, not just locations, but he took you to to experiences he took you to in like times almost. How do you describe what he was taking you to?
He literally walked me. Well, first of all, God is outside of space and time. He
Right.
created space and time.
Right.
All right. He created everything. Now, being outside of space time, he actually took me like through time to the very beginning, as I explained, and showed me. I mean, I watched creation. It was the most incredible fireworks display you'll ever see. I got to watch the stars and everything go into the sky as he explained it. And then from that moment, he walked me through literally every moment from existence all the way through to the new heavens and the new earth. He made me look in Satan's eyes and explained to me. He opened up Satan's eyes and said, do you see the pride? Do you see the anger, the self-serving? And as only he could do, he allowed me to see that through his eyes, through Satan's eyes. And he said, that's why he was cast out. And then he explained why he was cast out of heaven. I got to watch the fall. I got to see everything. I got to watch him with the Garden of Eden. I saw dinosaurs, Neanderthals, cavemen, everything. I watched him create Adam out of dust. That's not just a story. He literally did that.
So this timeline, would you say that it was a timeline like that was right there in heaven, or was it like the timeline that he took you to
He took me outside
outside? Yeah.
so I could look down at everything. He literally showed me everything along the way. Like I would see what was happening and he would explain. I saw as he created Adam.
Wow.
And he would explain it to me. I wasn't in there with him intermingling, but he was showing me from that perspective.
Yeah.
And then we all walked through heaven.
So wow. So, all right. Well, I guess let's go through that timeline first, and then we'll get to walking through heaven. So when he showed you the very beginning, what was the very beginning, and what did you see?
It was nothing.
Nothing.
There was nothing. I was with him outside of time and space, as if God were in the beginning. He was just himself. He always was. Except now I'm with him. There's nothing there. And he told me, you see the dark, the black? That's not absent anything. It's not a light turnout. It's not absent light. It's not absent anything. There's nothing there. It was just an absolute total, except for he and I. And he said, that's what I created everything out of. And then he spoke the word, and I watched everything pop in, including the earth, the heavens, the earth, everything. And then he explained also between verse 1 and verse 2. Now you got to understand time.
There was a fall, wasn't there? There was a gap, wasn't there?
There absolutely was.
Yes. I knew it.
All right. So
I've always known that.
Here's what happened. First of all, it's hard to explain because time did not enter until about roughly 6,000 years ago when sin entered the world.
Right.
That's when time began.
Because before sin, we were not limited by the time. We were not limited by the clock. And there was the great fall of the entire universe in between verses 1 and 2, because that wasn't how he originally created things.
No. You see, and that's a very important part, because in Genesis 1, as he explained to me, he created everything and I watched it. He says, now you have to understand that everything has a cause and effect. When he created everything at this point has a cause and effect. So what was the cause that sent the world into chaos? Now in verse 2, it says the world, I believe the Bible says that the world was formless and void. But as he explained, if you really look at back the original words, it should read, it became formless and void. And the void is not the word either. Void actually means oh, sorry.
No,
I forgot to turn it off. I turned every phone.
Tohu. The Hebrew is tohu vahu bohu. It was void and dark within. It was chaos.
Yeah, total chaos. Now, who makes everything with a purpose and perfect? So that should tell you right there. There had to be something happened, because even throughout Genesis, every time he did something in a recreation, I'm going to call it that, it was good, and it was good. You see, he doesn't create things that are bad. He's perfect. He creates it with purpose and meaning and good. So when he created it, everything was perfect. The heavens, the cosmos, everything. There were no planets out of order. Things were not hitting and exploding into each other. The cause between verse 1 and 2. Now, this is where it's hard to understand. There is no time now. So when I use a time I have to point out that it's so that we could comprehend. It's just like in Genesis, and it says there was the morning and it was night. It was day one. Those are not literal 24-hour a day. That's a stamp of this happened and then this happened and stuff in between happened. But it wasn't to show a time period. It's just a sequence of events. So this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And it's broken down on days as a point, because even then there was no time. You see, he created Adam and Eve, but there still wasn't time. Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden in perfect harmony and perfect relationship, walking with God without sin, and there was no time. And then, of course, sin entered and then became time. But let's go back to verses 1 and 2. We know he created everything out of love and it was perfect. Everything was running around great. Satan, as he explained to me, was cast out because every created being, including angels, have what's called free will and free choice. We all know we have free will. But what happens is that is supposed to be governed. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 7 tells you exactly what that love is. It also tells you what love is not. Now, those are not just words. Those are Jesus' attributes, his values. It is an exact picture of what and who he is. He is love. We got to quit just looking at those as words. So we're to govern everything, and that includes the angels and us. Every created being has free will and free choice. Well, Satan was starting to make his choices and governing his choices and free will and his choices outside of love. As Jesus pointed out to me, he governs it with pride, self-serving, anger. Those are not of love. Anything outside of love becomes sin. And Satan was starting to corrupt and get some of the angels to do that as well. And as a result, he said, I had to cast him out, along with about a third of the angels, to keep heaven pure. No sin can be in heaven, no temptation. That's why at the end, he's going to burn all this earth and the heavens and the cosmos all up with fire and create a new heavens and a new earth, because no sin will have ever entered, nor will it enter. So when he cast him out, it was so devastating that it caused a ripple effect that rippled throughout the entire cosmos, the universe. And that's what set planets into disruptive states, imbalance. They started going around, colliding, causing black holes, explosions, and everything else, asteroids, everything. All the chaos that's out in space is a further penetration of the chaos that Satan caused here when he was cast out. And that's what happened between verse 1 and verse 2. Now, you can't measure how long that was. And that's one other thing he explained to me. He says the scientists do try to measure that. Everybody wants to measure how old the earth is, but they can't, because you cannot measure something that did not exist. He says they can guess at best based on some fossil remains and some things that they try to do, carbon dating methods. But even the carbon dating methods are not accurate, because the further you go on it, the more inaccurate it becomes. But you can't measure something that didn't exist.
Well, and you can't measure something that was outside of the current status. You can't assume that carbon always functioned the way it has and that it has always been in the same environment and that this entire universe has always been the way this universe is. Assuming that is putting yourself on the wrong footing from the start.
Well, scientists, what they do, and all the cosmology people, they're good. They can look at, measure, figure out what is there, but they can't. It has to start someplace, and they can't tell you what the creating part of it is, because then they have to accept that it was God, and they don't want to do that.
And even saying that something has a beginning is accepting that God exists. But that's a whole nother.
And the big, yeah, oh yeah, that's a whole nother. Yeah. So anyway, back.
So what does he show you next? What does he show you
Right.
next after
We
one,
saw
two?
verse 1 and 2. That was a chaotic state. And of course, then he showed me the dinosaurs and the cavemen, the Neanderthals, and he explained to me that we did not come from them. They would like to make you believe that, but that's not the case. He says, I created them. I also said this, that the only creation that was created in our image was man. No other was created in my image. And that's because we have a soul. We have the ability to love. And that's the difference between us and others. The cavemen, the Neanderthals, yes, They have DNA that is, some of our DNA is in there. Those are building blocks. I created it. I know what they do. But every tiny little change in the DNA structure is for a reason, and that makes different things. You've never seen a tree turn into a dog. You've never seen a horse turn into a bird, and you've never seen a caveman or Neanderthal turn into a man. They do have
Wow.
some similar DNAs, and I did it a lot further than this because he actually explained the entire DNA, and I had the opportunity to explain it to a scientist up in California. And all he said was, "It makes sense now."
So Jesus showed you the fall of Satan and then the chaos in the earth, and then he showed you when he created humanity, or just take me through
No,
the
he
structure.
showed me the dinosaurs and the Neanderthals and cavemen. They were all there before me. But now, man wasn't created if you had to put times on billions of years because it
Right.
was one time.
Right.
When he showed me them and he explained to me that we didn't come from them. Our DNA is got some of our DNA in there, but your DNA, some of it's going to be the same as a lion. Are you a lion? Did you come from a lion or a giraffe?
Right.
No, but there's little things that are different. And then when he created us in his image. He actually said our image because of the triune Godhead, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit in our image. We're the only one that he did that with, and that separates us from that. He didn't have us come from somebody else. We were created from the dust. I watched him create Adam from the dust. And I watched him take a rib and create. That's not a story. Those are facts. He showed me that. I watched it. You'll get to see. I'm sure he'll allow you to see it at some point in time, but people just have to realize Bible's not a story. That's a historical documents that showed us what. And now he's revealing a lot about it that we haven't understood. But wrong. Creation, fall, chaotic earth, universe, everything going on, dinosaurs, all that created about 65 to 70 million years ago is one of those asteroids hit the earth. And when it did, it threw up such a dust cloud that it covered the entire earth and squashed out everything. I'm sure you read it. It was in total darkness because no light could get through. Nothing could breathe. Suffocated almost every living thing. And it took the better part of that period until about 6,000 years ago, 6 or 7,000 years ago. So I would say maybe 8, give or take when we're talking in these period of times. It took that long for that dust to settle down. And as it settled, he allowed that to become the ground that will be good for growing crops and everything else. And that's when he created the Garden of Eden. And then man created man in his image. Now, I actually saw before the fall, dinosaurs in them they weren't mean. I watched Adam pet the nose of a dinosaur. The dinosaur leaned down, petted and nuzzled his nose. They were as a result of all that craziness too. When sin entered the world, time began, and it was a game changer. So Adam and Eve were in there before sin began. Dinosaurs, cavemen, Neanderthals, all that's real. And that's what man's trying to measure. And they'll even say, as a scientist says, well, yeah, but some of this DNA matches up. Yeah, but it isn't 100% of it. And nowhere does it say God created them in his image.
Wow.
Creating us in his image isn't physical. It's your soul. It's your ability to love, to put all that together, your ability to choose him.
Mm.
We are different. We are truly his love, which brings us to this. We are a miracle. Now, what is a miracle? Some would say, Gabe, you're a miracle because you fell off your skateboard. Others would say, I'm a miracle because he resurrected me from the dead after 3 days. That's not the miracle. Some would say love is the miracle, but it's not it either. You see, every miracle, there's no hierarchy. Some are more prevalent, but the entire creation from the beginning was from love overflowing. And a miracle, as he explained to me, is any manifestation or representation that flows out of love, his love, that affects your life in a positive way. Those are all miracles. You're breathing, you're talking, your ability that we are talking now, you being able to function after cracking your head. My being able to function. I was brain dead. My brain was destroyed. There is no way that they have ever repaired any brain or any brain has ever repaired itself, ever. Only a miracle. And that's just a different representation through a manifestation of his love. Those are what miracles are. Everything in your life, every function in your body, breathing, think about the things going on in your brain right now that make you enable. We're talking, we're looking at each other at the same time. It's functioning to cause you to breathe, your heart beats, your blood to pump. All those are all miracles, which are manifestations of his love. Now, your recovery, my coming back, those are still manifestations of his love for his purpose to further his kingdom. And when we
Wow.
understand that, nobody has any hierarchy. There's no miracle that's greater than the other. Just like sin has no hierarchy. There's no greater sin. My sin's better than yours. I'm the biggest sinner. No, it's not that way. A little white lie is the same to him as murder. A sin is a sin. It's a sin. If you violate one letter of the law, you're what? Guilty of the entire law. Well, that's a fact. So all sin's equal. All miracles are equal. Some are, yes, more prevalent, and some he will use in a more public manner, as we would say, to further his kingdom. And that's what you and that's what I'm doing. But we're no different than any other miracle of every day. We're blessed because he's using us to do that, share his word.
Amen. I say the same thing to everyone I share my testimony to. I look them in their eyes and I say, your breath is just as miraculous as mine. You are here on this earth with just as much purpose as I am. And tell everyone, did you see the cross?
As he walked me through time, I saw everything. He showed me the Red Seas, the Dead Sea Scrolls. I saw the Red Sea parts, Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, literally anything and everything. And we did get to the cross, to the crucifixion. He had me watch it and he explained it to me. And he explained to me that that was a demonstration of his love. He said, let me explain. He says, I've explained to you what love is, and you know that. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. He says, as he walked me through the crucifixion, right when Peter, and he gave a demonstration of what his love actually is, that we are to understand that whole thing wasn't just about him dying on the cross and paying for our sins. It was more. That was his love overflowing again for us. You see, when the guards came to take him, and he had demonstrated that each segment of it, the guards came to take Jesus, and Peter drew out a sword and cut off one of the guards' ears. Jesus didn't go, yeah, that's a good thing. Let's go. No, he didn't. He says, no, Peter, we don't do that. Put your sword away. And then Jesus said, I will go willingly. And he reached out and he grabbed the guard's ear, put it back, and let the Father put it back. And he said, I will go willingly. And he went with them. And do you think he think that was self-serving? No. Was it anger? No. He showed us that you don't do anger. You don't take into account a wrong suffered there, because they were taking him for no reason. So that's a wrong suffering, but you still don't do it. He demonstrated that. And what does love say? Doesn't take into account a wrong suffered. Then he went with them willingly, and they beat him, they whipped him, they scourged him, they crucified him. It was horrible to watch. And through all that, he demonstrated his love. Do you think he went there because he wanted to? He went there out of obedience because it had to be done. Did he say, oh, I'm only going to do it a little bit? No, fully embraced it. Fully embraced. They took him and they put him on the cross. He didn't need to go up there for us. He didn't need saving. He was sinless and blameless. We did. All of mankind did. Yet he paid for our sins with his life. See, he didn't go up there to save himself. It was was it self-serving? Love is not self-serving. Did he demonstrate that there? Absolutely, because he went for us. It's for others. His love outward. They put him on the cross. Now, after they beat him, they whipped him, they scourged him, they nailed him to a cross. Did he get angry? How did he demonstrate it? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He didn't take into account a wrong suffered at all. He wasn't self-serving. He did it for us. He loved others the way he was supposed to be. We are. And in the end, he was suffering, and he showed us that he was suffering. He was here as a God-man. He had to suffer everything we did and yet be blameless and sinless. And what did he do? He prayed the way that we're supposed to do it. And that's what we need to remember. He asked, he says, if you can take this cup from me, please do so. But nevertheless, that's what we're supposed to do. We have a tendency to pray because it's benefiting us. And we want it. I want patience and I want it now and I want it this way. So we tell God how we want it. We want it in our time. But it's supposed to be with your will because he knows the future. He knows all the little intricacies. And in so doing, he knows what's best for us. That's what we have to do. He demonstrated that. He demonstrated all of it. And did he lie on the cross? No. You see, there was a thief on one side, a thief on the other side. And the one thief was just straight up evil. He blew him off. The other thief looked at him and he says, I know what I did was wrong. I deserve this. But you've done nothing. You are who you say you are. Just remember me when you come into your kingdom. He was demonstrating faith in God at that point, just like in the Old Testament. And what did Jesus say to him? He said, verily, verily, I say to you this day, you will be with me in
Paradise.
paradise. Exactly. He didn't say heaven. Why was that? There was a specific reason, as he explained. He says, first, he hadn't paid the price yet. He hadn't died. He hadn't risen from the grave for 3 days. The price wasn't done. It wasn't fulfilled yet. He says, if I'd have told him he was going to go to heaven, I would have been alive and my sacrifice would not have been worth. He cannot get to heaven like that because he was showing faith in God. He couldn't accept him because there was nothing to accept at this point. You have to accept the payment, believe in Jesus, but you still have to, that belief has to be acceptance of the payment. Like it says that you're saved by faith, not of your own. And then by grace, you are pulled into life everlasting with him. Grace and faith, both gifts, no work on your own. You did nothing, only what he allowed you to do. Now, he said there's only one way to the Father, to heaven, and that's through the blood of Christ, through Jesus. That's the only way. No other way. He's pretty, I don't know what part of no other way people don't understand. There's only one way. Well, if that way is not available to you, ask the thief on the cross, how does he get to heaven? Same way you and I do. He's going to have to accept Jesus one day. So he sent him to paradise, just like all of the Old Testament. Millions of people prior are in paradise because they had belief in the God. They couldn't accept Jesus. It all pointed to the cross, but they will have the opportunity, which is a whole other lesson, to accept him. They went to paradise because of their belief in God, not in a golden idol, not in themselves, not in a giraffe or a tree or a flower or a voodoo thing. They believed in the God, and that credited them. For example, they gave blood sacrifices. The blood sacrifices weren't sufficient because as soon as they turned away and walked away, they think something still a sin. They'd have been on there continuously, but they did that, blood sacrifices, to demonstrate their true belief in God. Okay. In believing in God at that time, you have to realize this. It says in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Who is the Word? Jesus.
God. Jesus. Well, yeah, Jesus.
Jesus is the Word. See, he was there in the beginning. He always was there together with them. So when they were believing in God, showing faith in God,
they were believing in Jesus.
But they couldn't accept the payment because it hadn't done yet.
Hadn't happened yet,
on the road. But that was enough to credit them to get them into, it's called Sheol or Sheol, which is paradise and hell. We'll call it good place, bad place, okay? Paradise, bad place, hell, whatever you Hades, I don't care what you want to call it. And if you believed in God, the true God, not the other phony one, you died, you go to paradise. You don't, you reject him, just like you're going to hell and your fate is set. Now, when he comes back, he said what? The dead in Christ will rise. Who do you think the dead in Christ are? Those that are in paradise with him. When they rise, he comes back. He's bringing those that are with him in heaven, right? And what about those that are here on the earth that believe? True believers. They will meet him in the sky, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then they will set down upon the earth and the dead in Christ will rise. There's going to be we're going to be his army, but it's not going to be with swords and guns and all that. It's a spiritual. We're going to be his army when those dead in Christ rise. All those people that are in paradise, we will have the opportunity and blessing to represent Jesus and witness to each and every one of them what Jesus did, explain it to them, and they will then have that opportunity to accept his payment because that's the only way that they can go to heaven, just like you and I. That's the only
Wow.
way. Now, he further demonstrated that is what's going to happen in Matthew. Jesus, of course, Jesus was crucified. He died. He was in the grave 3 days and he rose. He rose from the dead. He conquered death. He conquered it. But shortly after, the dead rose from the grave, the prophets of old. Remember that, Matthew?
Yeah.
Moses, Abraham, David, all these people rose and they walked amongst them. And he did it for a real specific reason. Most people don't look at it and figure it out. But when I didn't either, but Jesus explained it to me. Okay. I don't want you to think I'm this smart guy figured it out. I had a really good tutor. When those prophets of old rose, the Jewish people at the time, they knew who these people were. Some of them were people that they knew personally right there. They knew who they were, but they died, but now they rose from the grave. Well, Jesus ascended into heaven, and they know, okay, he ascended into heaven and he conquered death. But what about us mere people down here? Does it conquer our death too? And he used that to show an example. Yes. And it's still only one way to get to heaven. It's through him because he is God. And he demonstrated he's not just a prophet. He's not just a good man. He was the Messiah. He is God. And when we see that, yes, he ascended to heaven, but he conquered death for all of us. When those dead in the grave rose and he walked amongst them, they knew who they were. And they said, wow, he did it for he did conquer death. Yes, he showed them and they walked amongst them. And then they died again and he went back into the grave. But he showed them that they did come. But as prophets, prophecy and everything else said, and as he said, there's only one way, and it's through him. You have to accept him. And they will have their opportunity. But even they who are back in paradise now, back in the grave, I conquered death. I showed you that. But they still will have to do it. And that will happen when the dead in Christ all rise. And they will have the opportunity to accept the price that he paid. And then they can go through heaven through that one narrow gate. There is no other way. Which part of no other way do we not understand? And I made it very simple. Man has complicated it. He says, you don't get pastors are going to hate me for this. You don't get to heaven by going to church every day. You don't get to heaven by having your family being good, going to church every day.
Mm.
You don't get there by osmosis. There's only one way. In John chapter 6, verse 28 and 29, he was pretty explicit. Verse 28, the disciples, they were asking Jesus, what are the works of God that we must do? No, he said, what do we need to do? Do we need to
Mm.
to heal the sick, perform miracles? What do we need to do? And Jesus in verse 29 said this, the work, not the works, the work of God is to believe in the one he sent. To believe in Jesus. We have to believe in Jesus. Over in John 3:16, it says, believe. Believe. It didn't say anything else. In Romans, people have brought that forward and say you have to confess with your mouth. No, you don't. That's a public declaration. Just like water baptism is a public declaration of your faith. You're proud of it. Same thing in Romans. They were saying, man, we're proud to be a follower of Jesus. They were doing it, but man took it, added to the words of the Bible and said, let's add this too. You have to do that. No, that's a public declaration. Doesn't have anything to do with salvation. It has to do with your peace and everything, your love, but not your destiny. Your destiny is determined by one thing and only one thing, and that's believing and accepting that Jesus died, as in John 3:16. He gave his only begotten Son, only one, that whoever so believeth in him shall ever have everlasting life. Whoever so believes. He says, some people add confess with your mouth. Some people add baptism, water. But let me ask you this. He says, in the Bible, I even said, God shows no favoritism.
Mm.
And later it says, favoritism is a sin. If I showed favoritism to anybody or anything, that would be a sin. And once again, my sacrifice would have meant nothing. I have not the ability to sin. Now, if when I said you have to believe in your heart, and then I said, and if I put in there, confess with your mouth, what happened to those that couldn't talk?
Right.
I'd have to show favoritism, and I can't do that. So you see, he has reasons for everything in there, and he means everything he says.
So,
Just
what does it tell the person watching this right now that wants to make the decision to believe on him? Or they're even wondering, do I believe in him? What do you have to say to them?
I would tell them this: get religion out of it. Religion is man-made. There's no religion in heaven. Religion is as a result of man putting in their understanding of scriptures, adding to the Bible and teaching that over a period of years. And as Jesus said, religion causes division, division causes denominations, denominations cause abominations and cults. Throw religion out of it. Do what Jesus said. Leave. All you have to do. He made it simple, and you can't do it on your own. So quit trying to do it on your own. There's not a magic prayer. There isn't none of that. You don't have to say anything with your mouth. You have to believe it in your heart. As he said, everybody has a heart. I created you in my image. Nobody, no other creation. I created you in our image, in God's image. And that gives you the ability to love and to choose and act out of love. And love is not self-serving. Love is accepting. Love is overflowing. So the moment of salvation is this, and it's now. We have what's called age of accountability. People use that term a lot. Well, kids that are 3 years old or 5 years or 12, until that, age of accountability, they have grace. There are things. And in a way that does happen, but it's not exactly because of age. As Jesus explained to me, he says, it's not an age of accountability. It's a moment of accountability. And that can happen at 12, 5, 35, 40. It could happen at 60. It could happen at any point in your life. And here's what that moment of accountability is. It's when you have the intellectual ability to understand what is being presented to you. And then you are exposed to what Jesus did. And it's explained to you that he died for all mankind, including you, mine, everybody's sin, no matter what the sin was, all sin, past, present, future, everything. He says now, when he died and paid that price, you have to accept it. Your moment of accountability is when you have the intellectual ability to understand what somebody's telling you. And then through faith, not of your own, his faith that he gives you, you say, yes, I believe that you did die for me, for my sins, and you paid that price. And I do want to accept that payment. And then in so doing, by grace, not of your own, he pulls you into life everlasting. Nothing that you did, nothing that you can do except his payment. And say, Lord, you've given me the ability to love because you created me in your image. And I do love you. You died for me. You gave your very life for me so that I wouldn't have to. You paid the price of all my sins. The wages of sin are death, and death is separation from God. You paid that price so I don't have to be separated from you. I want you in my life. I want you to abide in me and me abide in you, as you said. All you have to do is believe it and accept it, and that's it. There's no magic thing that happens to you. You don't suddenly become a saint. He told me you're going to continue to mess up because it's a growing process. We're continually growing to become more conformed to his image till we get to heaven. Now, when you do that, Satan's going to say, nothing happened. See, nothing happened. No, that's Satan's lie. Because at that moment, the only thing he can do is steal your joy and your peace. He can't steal your salvation. Jesus said, your sins are as far from the east as from the west, never to be brought up again. He'll never throw up in your face. Never. And when he said on the cross, it is sufficient, it is complete, it is done. He meant that. He does not lie. So accept him. That's all you need to do. You don't have to jump down and go out and get baptized and go. You might probably want to, because that's a public declaration because you're happy. If you accept it and fully embrace the fact this man died for you. We see things on TV. I just saw one on the news last night about a guy that couldn't swim. The baby stroller was on a pier and the wind came and pushed it into the water, blew it into the water with an 8-month-old baby, freezing water. And this guy go, whoa. And he jumped in to try and save the baby. And then after he jumped in, he realized, I can't even swim. He struggled to try and get the baby out of there. They got the baby out, saved that baby's life and his own. But you see, that's the thing is, you don't have to become a saint. You're not going to be a saint. You are a saved person. And when you accept him, accept that. He accepts you as you are. He didn't say change first, clean up, No, he accepts you as you are at that moment. And when he does that, he'll clean you up. He'll
So
clean.
powerful. It's one decision. And I tell everyone, you have the free will to make one decision today that changes everything.
Yes.
And it changes your very core. Your heart is born again. Your identity is is born again, where you can be who he created you to be from the start. Though, like, yes, it's born again, but it's born again back to who he always thought of you. It's a beautiful mirror, isn't it?
Yes. It's not just that, is you're leaving right now before you accept his payment. You're dead. You're dead in your sins. You're separated from God. No matter how good you think you are, no matter how good you actually are here, according to man's terms, you could be the greatest person ever. It's not enough. And he accepts you as you are because all sin is the same. So you can be the greatest person, tell one little white lie, you're still guilty of the whole
Mm.
law.
Wow.
You are currently under the law. You're under the Ten Commandments. You're under the Levitical laws. You're under the Mosaic laws. All those things. You're under that law. And you're separated from God because you cannot abide by them. Those are a guidepost for you. But he said, I paid that price. All I want you to do is let the love that I filled you with when I created you in our image to accept that through your faith that I'm going to give you. Acknowledge it. And I'll do the rest. And he'll
Mm.
clean you up a little bit at a time. A lot of the time, it's in his time, not our time. And when you do, know that nobody can snatch you from his hand. He said,
Amen.
nobody, no one, not even yourself can snatch you from my hands. And once again, what part of no one or nobody do we not understand?
Wow. That's so powerful. Robert, I'm going to have you back on, and I'd love to hear more about the perspective he shared with you about what's coming, about the end times, about the later on the clock that you saw. Would you be willing to come back and talk more?
Absolutely. My whole life, I tell people I died at 75. In May, I'll be 77 or 2 years old, whichever way. My wife says she's scared to death of the terrible twos. But I had a good life, 75 years. This is not my life. This
Wow.
is his. He gave me this and blessed me with being able to share what he taught me. When he
Wow.
sent me back, he gave me a new brain, new heart, new kidney. Everything is brand new. I have an MRI of my old brain, which was destroyed. An hour and a half with zero oxygen. Look it up. Look it up on the internet. What does an hour and a half of zero oxygen do to you? It destroys your muscles, hearts, everything. He gave me everything new. Physically, there's nothing wrong with it. My wife says, you may be going through the terrible twos. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. But everything I do is just strictly to share what he taught me. He gave me a new brain. When he sent me back, he said, I'll give you a complete memory of everything you experienced, everything I taught you, and everything that I showed you. And I will command you to share that with anybody, anytime, anywhere, any place that he puts in front of me. He puts you in front of me. I don't know how many people you got watching, 5, 10, 100. I don't care. He puts you in front of me. And my whole purpose is to share what he gave me to others. And I'll end on this note. He told me when he sent me back, he said, Robert, I'm sending you back with a lot of information. Some of it people have not even had before. He said, but you've got to understand, some people are going to reject it. Some people are not going to believe it. But I sent you back with a miracle that nobody can deny. Not the doctors, not anybody, not the scientists. Nobody's ever got a new brain. You did. Nobody's ever gotten all that. He says, and I sent you back for a reason, and that's to share that. He said, but you have to remember this. You cannot convince anybody of anything, and you cannot change anybody, and you also cannot save anybody. Only I can. You have one thing to do, and that's to present my word, my truth, as I taught you, as I showed you, without any deviation. Don't add your take on it. You tell them exactly what I taught you. And then my word you shared is a living word, and my word can convince, my word can change, and my word can save, because my word is love. And that's where it all started. And that's where it's going to end, in love with me for all eternity. You share it, you do your job, I'll do mine. Made it easier. I no longer stress. Uh, I don't, I don't, I don't have notes. I don't do anything. It's just he gives me exactly what needs to be said to whomever he put in front of me. And on that note,
Wow.
I'm probably the most blessed man. I know I'm the most blessed man I know because, and that's not going to be better than anybody. I'm just blessed. I get to share
That's
Jesus all day
come
long.
on. That's so beautiful. Wow. Wow. He told me such a similar thing. He said, Gabriel, go back and tell them who I really am.
Yes.
Wow, that's so powerful. Well, Robert, you're gonna have to come back. So, you flatlined for like you said 45 minutes, but then they like kind of brought you back and forth. But then for 3 days, they put you in the bag, or 3 days, just describe
No,
those three
what they
days.
had done, I actually flatlined 3 times. First time I flatlined, I died. It took them 15 minutes of 0 oxygen, 0 heartbeat to get my heart beating again. The nurse ran out, talked to my wife and tell her that they had got me, and before she could even get it out to my wife out of the room, and it's a matter of 20, 30 seconds, they said, we're losing him, he's gone again. They said to my wife, what do you want us to do? Because they knew, the doctors knew at this point, it's been 15 minutes with 0 oxygen. And now my heart stopped again. And my wife told him, you do everything. I don't care. You do it. We have what's called a living will, a durable
Wow.
public journey. And it says if they put me on any life support equipment whatsoever, they can't take me off for 14 days, no matter what.
Oh, wow. So you're pretty much on life support for 3 days, weren't you?
Well, it wasn't not even, they hadn't given me on life support yet. And so
Wow.
my heart stopped again. I died. I went back to heaven. We'll talk about that the next time. And I was gone that time. It took them another 20 minutes to get my heart going again. And it was only for like about 30 seconds. In that process, I bled out in my lungs. They had to drill a hole in my side, take out a liter bottle full of blood and fluids. They had to do a tracheotomy here, which cut my voice box and everything else. And I'm supposed to have a big hole here like this and going, rah, 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 and all that stuff. Well, that didn't happen either. So I died.
You were miraculously healed from that, weren't you? The Lord just filled it right in.
Yes. Died the second time. I was in heaven for 55 minutes before they got my heart going again. And that was through finally going like that. And then they had me on all life support to keep it going. But I was already dead. But my wife would not allow them to take me off. So I just laid there dead. You know, basically I'm taking up space. They went to my wife every day trying to convince her to pull everything off and put somebody in there they could do some good with. She wouldn't have it until the 23rd of May. They just about had her convinced. And Jesus sent me back. And boy, did we shake up some doctors. Woo!
And you've since completely recovered, and you've lost a lot of weight too, right?
I've lost about 85 pounds. Oh, when I first came out, I lost about 40 while I was in the hospital.
Right,
But
right.
when I came out, I put it back on and went about 287. Now I'm down to about 202. Uh,
Wow.
I ate everything in sight when I got out. And I was hungry. But yes, this
Well,
year, I don't have a scar. I'm not supposed to talk.
yeah, because a tracheotomy takes out your voice, but your
Every
voice was completely restored.
Yeah, they it was kind of, it's not a funny moment. They pulled it out. They told my wife, "Well, we're going to have to keep this quick." 'Cause I had a hole big enough to put a golf ball in, and they were telling my wife that when we take this out, you're going to have to make sure it's covered, wrapped, clean, because anything that goes in that hole is going straight into his body, and it's not going to be good. She said it's going to take probably 10, 12 months for this thing to heal up to the point where they could sew something in there, the whole thing, so I could talk and all that good stuff. But we want you to understand, if you don't keep it clean and that gets infected around that, we won't be able to sew anything in. We won't do anything. It's just going to take time. I wouldn't be able to take showers or nothing because the water would go in there. So they took it out that night and showed her how to do it and put the patch on and clean it all up. And they wrapped this big, looked like a mummy, around my neck. They had everything wrapped up. And the next morning, sister's assistant came in and says, okay, we're going to take this out. And they called my wife. Oh, she's there. Let me show you how we're going to take this out now and you'll see what we're talking about. Or it was already out. We're going to show you now to clean it up. And he took the thing off and pull the tape off in the next way. When you take the tape off, be careful that you don't tear that because that skin can be real tender around. It's going to take a while. Pulled it off and he backed his chair up and he looks at me and he goes, when, when did they take that out? And I looked at him and I said, last night about 8:30. He goes, you're talking, can't talk. I said, you asked me a question. I answered you. Well, what do you want me? That had totally overnight closed, didn't leave a scar, nothing, just the whole of it. He just closed it up. And obviously I can talk and I
Wow.
don't have to go
Wow.
like this or anything. Yes. And just
Praise God.
one of many things that he did. But yes, he said, I'll send you back with a miracle that nobody.
Wow. Wow. Well, man, praise God. Well, everyone, Robert, I've hat tagged your channel as a collaborator on this video. So Everyone, be sure to go subscribe to Robert, and then also hold out a couple of your books. I was telling everyone
Well,
it's so
actually got three.
fascinating.
Let me
Yeah, because
This one here, which is 44 Hours in Heaven. This is my very first one. Now, this book here, it gives a perspective from what I went through, from my perspective, what I was seeing, talks about how I went to heaven, what happened
wow,
there. It also puts, we put copies of the medical records and some of them in there so that they can
wow,
verify. I mean, it's not something that happened at home. I recommend they get that to read first. This one is the second one. This is, uh, I had a court reporter with me in heaven who literally wrote down everything that Jesus said, that I said, as he taught me and showed and described what was going on. And that court reporter came back and put it. That's in that book. It's
yeah,
278 pages, no medical records, no pictures. And it took me 11 hours from when he sat me down to write that, type it to the printer.
wow, wow.
And it's an
So
exact transcript of what he said. The last one is this one, and this is a walk beyond time. This is where I started to tell you exactly how everything take place from creation, that he took me outside of time and space. And get them all at 44hoursinheaven.org. It'll
and
take
that's
you
and
to
that's
the website.
wow, that's exclusive too. So everyone go visit that website
It's the only place you can.
today. And Robert, I just think it's so amazing again because it's so funny. We had never really talked before we wrote both of our books. We had never talked. We didn't
I
know
gotta
each
get
other.
that one. I don't have that one.
And it's just crazy because someone could look probably at my book and say, you know what? Uh Gabe probably like Gabe or Robert could sue Gabe for copyright because they say the same things. But I respond and I'm like, listen, first of all, we wrote our books before we knew each other, so you can't say that. But second of all, it's because we encountered the same Christ. like but
There's only
Robert,
one.
I was reading chapters in mine and I was reading chapters in yours, and I was saying to myself, oh my goodness. So that is just so fascinating.